Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's Lair coverage of E3 2015. I am your host, Larry the Chupacabra, and we're talking about For Honor in this little video segment. Ubisoft didn't really think they'd come out with anything that really piqued my fancy personally, but it looks like they've found a good IP, a new IP, that has done just that. It's called For Honor, and it's like somebody mixed Chivalry, medieval warfare, and a game like Dynasty Warriors to create a sort of medieval hack-and-slash sword-fighting game where you go into medieval battles and you fight to gain like footholds in enemy castles, to acquire like strategic points, and to do really cool sword-fighting combinations and stances and all sorts of like actual hand-to-hand combat fighting that normally you would only see in like a cinematic or in like a big ticket like box office movie that you go see with like, I don't know, like Keanu Reeves in like The Last Ronin or something. And it looks like a lot of fun. And they've got a couple of components here that you don't really see in games like Chivalry that kind of flesh it out and really give it its own universe. The first thing that really caught my eye is the battles look really big and really functional because they're not just full of like 50 of the same people all running around like chickens with their heads cut off. There's, you know, NPCs in amongst the people that are fighting, and you have to hack through them. They do pose a bit of a threat because they can tear into you and potentially kill you, but they're not super worrisome, and they really give it a robust feel of battle. And then you've also got a series of different factions. You know, in the trailer we saw knights, we saw samurai, we saw a whole bunch of different factions from around their own medieval periods that you can fight and sword fight with. And that really, I like that, because in a lot of other games like that, you just get knights. Maybe you get French knights versus English knights, and there is some distinction there, but it's not a cool distinction. And no, Ubisoft really surprised me. I think the only thing I'm kind of reticent about is the fact that it seems like, or at least in the PvP game mode that they promote on stage, that it's going to be a lot of 4-player versus 4-player teams, which I don't like that because it really limits the scope. Something that I loved in Chivalry and similar games is that there's like 50 frickin' people running around, you know? Like 1 or 2 guys can pair off and have a duel. You got to be careful because another, you know, jerk can just run up and axe you in the back of the skull and show you brain parts to everybody in the field. You got to be careful. This game seems to favor more pairing off for gentlemanly duels. I mean, I'm the kind of person that like, gentlemanly duel? No, I'm cutting your friend's legs off and then I'm going to come kill you with my friend. Dueling? Really? This is war. So I'm not sure how I feel about that. We had some issues with other games that tried to make it feel like a big battle, but it really didn't. Like Titanfall was really big on like, oh, we got these small teams, but look at all the NPCs you got to deal with. Well, in reality, the NPCs never killed anybody, and they were just kind of there as cannon fodder to reduce the cooldown on your giant murder robot. So we'll have to see how the size and scope evolves. Maybe that's just one game mode. I only know so much about these games so far. But from what I see of For Honor really early on, you know, there's like Vikings, knights, samurai, potential for even more stuff mixed in there. And it should be a lot of fun playing with like great swords and shields. And they definitely have a much more refined combat system that you can definitely, it's smoother, it flows. Whereas other contemporary games, it's all like via rough position of your mouse and the direction you're moving, and it's kind of convoluted and confusing. This kind of dumbs it down, puts it into a much more strict, easy to understand system, and I like that. Could be a lot of fun. And hopefully if they just gotta fix that issue of like the scope, and it should be great. So that's all I got for right now on that. Thanks for joining me, Larry the Chupacabra. For more E3 2015 coverage, don't forget to like and subscribe because that helps me out a whole bunch and lets me and my spooky band of pals create even more content like this in the future. So until next time, catch you guys later. Have a good one. Toodaloo!